Am I audible, students? आवाज येतोय का माझा?
Yes.
So in last lecture, we have started this section head or called as the dividing head. This is the section view of a dividing head mechanism or called as a indexing head or dividing head. Student आवाज येतोय माझा? Hello.
Yes.
Screen दिसतंय सगळ्यांना ना? Is it clear? So student, in the last
The
part of
last.
this milling machine, we are studying this dividing head or called as a indexing head. So indexing head mechanism or called as dividing head mechanism that we have studied in last lecture. That indexing head is one of the important attachment for a milling machine. बरोबर मिलिंग मशीनचं जे काय आहे त्या सरफेस टेबलवर ठेवताना आपलं मशीन करताना गिअर मॅनेजिंग करताना तो सेटअप आपल्याला त्या सरफेस टेबलवर ज्याप्रमाणे आपण प्रॅक्टिकल बघितलं तो मिलिंग मशीनचा व्हाईस ठेवलेला तिथं बघा त्या व्हाईसच्या instead of wise we have to place this indexing head mechanism or dividing head mechanism on that surface table. So it is one of the important attachment for milling machine. आणि का त्याचा वापर कशासाठी करतो आपण जेव्हा एक सर्क्युलर प्लेट आहे फॉर एनी सर्क्युलर प्लेट आय हॅव टू डिवाइड दॅट वर्कपीस सर्क्युलर वर्कपीस मला ती इक्वली स्पेस मध्ये डिवाइड करायची फॉर माय गिअर टिप्स. So for such equally dividing the circular workpiece, circular gears, so it is used to divide the circumference of workpiece into equally spaced divisions when milling gear teeth. That gear teeth may be squares, hexagon and octagon depending upon your requirement. So गिअर मॅनेजिंग करताना जेव्हा गिअरचे टीथ असतात दे आर इक्वली स्पेस बरोबर ते गिअरचे टूथ मध्ये काय आहे दॅट इज हॅव्हिंग इक्वली स्पेसिंग अँड देर इज अ symmetrical distance in between that each teeth. So for manufacturing that teeth, we have to use this indexing head. Also used to rotate workpiece at predetermined ratio. बरोबर मग अशा प्रकारे गिअर टूथ तयार करताना ते गिअर टूथ ऍट इक्वली स्पेस डिव्हिजन बरोबर ना सपोज त्या सर्कम्फरन्स वर मला 7 टूथ मॅनेजरिंग करायचे तर 7 टूथ मॅनेजरिंग करताना मला ती वर्कपीस प्लेट ऍट अ प्रीडिटरमाइंड रेशो मला ती मूव्ह करायची रोटेट करायची. सो फॉर दॅट ऑल्सो दॅट इंडेक्सिंग हेड मेकॅनिझम इज यूज. सो दॅट इज युअर इंडेक्सिंग हेड. दिस इज द बेसिक view of this indexing head. Having this index plate, circular index plate is having this number of holes on its periphery, having this index crank pin. This is index pin at here. Here is a crank is there for sliding this, and there is a ratchet arm. That ratchet arm is for locating your index pin at proper holes for machining the gear tooth. So this is your index head or called as a dividing head. So we'll move to the next part. So this is basically just like a this setup we have to keep on that surface table. The surface table आपल्याला अशा प्रकारे एका साइडला हेड स्टॉक ठेवायचा आहे जस्ट लाईक वन सेंटर रेस्ट अँड अनदर ॲट हेड स्टॉक एक मिनी लेथ मशीन कसं म्हणतो आपण मिनी लेथ मशीन प्रकारचं असतं ते बरोबर एका साइडला काय आहे देर इज अ हेड स्टॉक फॉर डिवाइडिंग दॅट सर्कम्फरन्स इंटू इक्वली स्पेस while managing the gear tools. बरोबर या ठिकाणी मग इंडेक्स प्लेट असणार आहे इंडेक्स पिन इंडेक्स क्रँक that will be the part of this headstock assembly, and at the center there is a center rest is there for supporting the workpiece, and at one end there is a footstock is there just like your tail stock at your lathe machine bro. So that is your index head parts like headstock with index plates, headstock change gears, quadrant, universal chuck, footstock, center rest. So this is your index head part. In last lecture also we have studied this is a sector arm. There are two sector arms at here. Vertical sector arm hold at proper index pin, and another sector arm is at here. That is extra sector arm for moving on this circular plate. मला जी circular hole select करायचे that I can select with the help of this sector arm, which can be used with the help of this index pin. हे index pin त्या sector arm मध्ये move करून आपल्याला त्या hole मध्ये fix करायची असते so that proper hole can be matched. So that is with the help of this index crank. This is index pin. This is total called as a index plate. this circular plate having number of holes, that is index plate fitted on this worm shaft. A worm shaft वरती fix केली आहे index plate having this worm single threads at one end. Okay, and on that one single thread there is a worm wheel having 40 threads. So that is 1:40 ratio, because that worm wheel is having 40 number of teeth which is fixed on that worm. So that 40:1 ratio is there and connected with the index head spindle. Index head spindle is at here one end. That is your index head parts for indexing the mechanism. Now we'll go to the next part in that milling machines. That is your indexing head mechanism. Okay, just a minute. I'll start that.
Indexing of milling machine. Indexing of milling machines. Indexing is the process of evenly dividing the circumference of a circular work.
So student, you can see that indexing is the process of evenly dividing the circumference of a circular workpiece. और circular workpiece है, circular जी plate अपनी, ती equally spacing मध्ये मला divide करायची. So for that I can use this milling indexing head mechanism. So it is used to cutting gear teeth, cutting splines, milling grooves in reamers and taps, and spacing holes in a circle. Circular plate वर मला फक्त gear tooth managing करता येत नाही, cutting करता येत नाही, तर cutting spline मला जे drilling ला वगैरे जे spline असतात, splines that cutting edges, that I can cut. Even I can mill the grooving in reamers also. Or grooving reamers मध्ये मला सुद्धा machining करता येतं. Even taps also I can manufacture with the help of this indexing head. Then spacing holes, the number of holes मध्ये मला equally spacing करायचे, that I can do with the help of this indexing head mechanism. So that is important part of your milling machine.
It is used in cutting gear teeth, cutting splines, milling grooves in reamers and taps, and spacing holes on the circle, indexing or dividing.
So this is indexing head or dividing head. One of the indexing picture contains an indexing mechanism. ठीक है, indexing mechanism है, which is used to control the rotation of the index head spindle. तो index head spindle जेव्हा rotate करतोय, त्याला पुढे काय असणार आहे, connecting workpiece. So जेव्हा तो index head spindle move होणार आहे, with that worm and worm wheel mechanism, that workpiece also can divide into a equally spacing measurements as per our requirement. So a simple indexing mechanism consists of a 40 teeth wheel. The worm wheel आपण बघितलं, there are 40 number of teeth on its periphery fastened to the index head spindle. बरोबर, जो worm wheel आहे तो index head spindle ला fasten केला आहे. A single cut worm, a crank for turning. बरोबर, त्या index wheel ला काय आहे, a single cut worm crank पण लावलाय, बरोबर, worm wheel लावलाय for turning to worm shaft and index plate at a sector. So that is your indexing head or dividing head.
The indexing head of the indexing fixture contains an indexing mechanism which is used to control the rotation of the index head spindle to space or divide a workpiece accurately. A simple indexing mechanism consists of a 40-teeth worm wheel fastened to the index head spindle, a single cut worm, a crank for turning the worm shaft, an index plate, and a sector.
This is indexing plate mechanism. Yes. Just a minute, student, just wait. Student, just wait. So students, this indexing mechanism or indexing head, this is having this number of parts. This is number of the parts, just like we have seen in the next previous PPT also.
Since there are 40 teeth in the worm wheel, one turn of the index crank causes the worm wheel and the index head spindle to make 1/40th a turn.
काय बघा, त्या वर्म व्हील वर काय 40 नंबर ऑफ टीथ आहे. सर्क्युलर वर्म व्हील जे बघितलं आपण, त्यावर 40 teeth आहे, मग 1 ton of the index crank जेव्हा 1 ton घेते, causes the worm wheel and in the index head spindle to make 1:40 of a ton, बरोबर. 1/40 of a ton त्या स्पिंडलचे होतात, बरोबर. सो 40 tons of index crank revolve the spindle 1 full ton. जेव्हा इंडेक्स क्रँक 40 टन्स घेतं ते, तेव्हा ते स्पिंडल एक पूर्ण टन घेतं, बरोबर. 1:40 त्यामुळे. सो दॅट इज युअर 1:40 रेशो बिकॉज ऑफ द 40 number of teeth.
So 40 turns of the index crank revolve the spindle 1 full turn. Index plate.
So index plate काय आहे? It is a round plate with a series of 6 or more circles of equally spaced holes. बरोबर. आपण इंडेक्स प्लेट बघितली, having number of holes on its periphery. So the index pin or the crank can be inserted any hole in any circle, बरोबर. इंडेक्सिंग पिन जी असती, आपण as per our requirement we can insert in that any hole on that circular plate as per our requirement. So with the interchangeable plates regularly furnished with most index heads, the spacing necessary for most gears, bolt heads, त्यासाठी आपण स्पेसिंग करतो. For manufacturing gears, heads, milling, cutters, splines can be obtained.
The indexing plate is a round plate with a series of 6 or more circles of equally spaced holes. The index pin on the crank can be inserted in any hole in any circle. With the interchangeable plates regularly furnished with most index heads, the spacing necessary for most gears, bolt heads, milling cutters, splines can be obtained.
So student, these are the index plates. This is the index plate having the number of holes. बरोबर. आपण बघितलं मग आपण त्या व्ह्यू मध्ये. स्टुडंट आवाज येतो ना माझा? हॅलो स्टुडंट, आय एम ऑडिबल?
Yes, sir, येतोय.
Yes, sir.
आणि दिसतंय ना स्क्रीन तुम्हाला?
हो सर.
इंडेक्सिंग प्लेट दिसतंय. तर लक्षात घ्या नीट. वन ऑफ द इम्पॉर्टंट पार्ट ऑफ युअर मिलिंग पार्ट. See, you can see here at here rector arm, that's rector arm, operation of sector arm. So sector arm दोन ठिकाणी डिवाइड केला बघा. 6 holes, so 5 spaces we can have that. So that is the work of your sector arm. अशा प्रकारे sector arm मध्ये number of holes आपण स्पेस करून नाही का, we can have that number of holes in between that sector arm. So that is sector arm at here. Then sector binding screw is there. One of the sector binding screw is there for locking that sector arm at proper positions. Then this is the index plate having number of circular holes on its periphery during indexing.
Round and sharp type set of index plates consists of 3 plates of 6 circles.
So student, try to understand. जेव्हा आपल्याला प्रॉब्लेम बघायचे पुढच्या याच्यापासून, तर प्रॉब्लेम बघताना आपल्याला देर आर नंबर ऑफ स्टँडर्ड प्लेट्स. देर आर मिलिंग इंडेक्सिंग मध्ये बघतो आपण, देर आर स्टँडर्ड मिलिंग प्लेट्स, स्टँडर्ड इंडेक्सिंग प्लेट्स having called as a this one of the plate called as a brown and sharp type. Brown and sharp type set of index plate consists इंडेक्सिंग प्लेट आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये किती असतात? 3 प्लेट्स आहे, हॅव ऑफ 6 सर्कल्स. 3 प्लेट आहे, त्यामध्ये 15, 16, 17, 8 6 holes. Then another part 2 is having another 6 holes, 21, 23, 27, 29, 31, 33, and another plate 3. So plate 1, plate 2, and plate 3 having this number of standard hole series. As per our, when you have to gear to as per our requirement. Okay. So that is called as a brown and sharp type index plates having this number of holes.
Plate I is having 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 holes. Plate 2 is having 21, 23, 27, 29, 31, 33 holes. Plate 3 is having 37, 39, 41, 43, 47, 49 holes. Cincinnati type consists of 1 plate drilled on both sides with circles divided as follows.
So this is another plate. Just like the previous one is brown and index plate, this is another Cincinnati type consists of 1 plate only. In this Cincinnati 1 plate, there is only first side and another side. There are only 1 plate.
First side 24, 25, 28, 30, 34, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43 holes. Second side 46, 47, 49, 51, 53, 54, 57, 58, 59, 62, 66 holes.
So this is one of the brown and sharp holes.
To know a hexagon, divide 40 by 6, which equals 6 and 2/3 turns, or 6 full turns plus.
See now one of the example is given. Student आवाज येतोय ना माझा? Hello, students.
येतोय सर.
आता बघा आपण एक एक्झाम्पल बघतो पुढच्या स्लाइड मध्ये. इन दिस नेक्स्ट स्लाइड देयर इज वन एक्झाम्पल टू मिल अ हेक्सागॉन. मला हेक्सागॉन 6 साइड्स आहे बघा. तर 6 साइड्स असलेला हेक्सागॉन डिवाइड करायचं मला. सो डिवाइड 40 by 6. आपलं जी मिलिंग व्हील म्हणजे जे इंडेक्सिंग हेड त्याच्यावर 40 नंबर ऑफ टिप्स आहे. त्यामुळे दॅट 40 नंबर वी हॅव टू डिवाइड बाय 6 as there is a hexagon is there. So that 40 will be divided by 6, which equals to, when we are doing that dividing calculation, so that comes as a 6 is to 2 by 3 ratio. 6 into 2 by 3. So 6 is to 2 by 3 ratio turns. That means, what is meant by that? When we are doing this simple calculation, 40 divided by 6, so answer comes as a 6 is to 2 by 3 turns. So that means 6 full turns. That 6 is the integral part. So that 6 will be 6 full turns, plus in addition to that there are 2 by 3 of a turn. एक minute students. Hello, हाँ sir, हाँ बोलो ना. So students, hello. 40 they divide by 6. That answer is 6 by 6 is to 2 by 3 ratio. त्याचा अर्थ काय आहे? 6 फुल टर्न. त्या इंडेक्स प्लेटचे 6 फुल टर्न प्लस 2 by 3 ऑफ अ टर्न. बरोबर. प्लस काय आहे? 6 पूर्ण टर्न आणि 2 by 3 बरोबर ऑफ अ टर्न ऑन एनी सर्कल which whose number of holes is divisible by 3. And as 2 is by 3 आलं तिथं, मग 2 by 3 of a turn on any circle whose number of holes is divisible by 3. ज्या ठिकाणी नंबर ऑफ होल्स माझे ते डिव्हिजिबल बाय 3 होणार आहे. त्यामुळे काय होतं, देअरफॉर 6 फुल टर्न्स ऑफ द क्रँक प्लस त्या क्रँकचे काय होणार आहे, 6 पूर्ण टर्न करायचे मला मुव्हिंग करताना, इक्वली स्पेसिंग करताना, प्लस 12 स्पेसेस वर जेव्हा आपण ते प्लेटचं कॅल्क्युलेशन comes as a 12 spaces. 1 minute. So that comes as a 12 spaces on an 18 hole circle. 18 can be divided by 3. So we'll select that 18 hole circle plate, or 6 full turns plus 26 spaces on a 39 hole circle will produce the desired rotation of the workpiece. So that is your one of the example of milling a hexagonal plate with the help of that 40 number of tips of that crank pin and crank plate. So that is your milling.
2/3 of a turn on any circle whose number of holes is divisible by 3. Therefore, 6 full turns of the crank plus 12 spaces on an 18 hole circle, or 6 full turns plus 26 spaces on a 39 hole circle will produce the desired rotation of the workpiece.
Student, that is what we are studying this. This is called
Direct
the
indexing,
indexing.
direct indexing divisions. Direct indexing plate usually contains 3 sets of whole circles or slots, 24, 30, and 36.
So student, in last lecture we already studied, these are the 4 types which we have to study, the indexing types of indexing. So in that first type of indexing called as the direct indexing. The direct indexing means that plate usually contains 3 sets of whole circles. Upon last time we have seen that in that direct indexing, it is one of the simple indexing and used at most times for gain managing, which contains 3 sets of whole circles. त्याच्यामध्ये काय आहे, 3 sets of whole circles or slots that is having 24 number of holes, 30 number of holes and 36 number of holes. So which we have to remember, in the direct indexing divisions there are three sets of hole circles having 24, 30 and 36 number of holes. So the number of divisions possible can be indexed are limited to numbers that are factors of, बरोबर. मग आपण जेव्हा डिव्हिजन करणार आहे, मला ते गिअर टू डिव्हिजन करायचे, इक्वल स्पेस करायचे, मग ते जे दॅट इज लिमिटेशन टू हॅव द नंबर ऑफ होल्स which are limited to the numbers that are factors of 24, 30 and 36. मग जे नंबर्स माझे 24, 30 and 36 डिव्हिजिबल आहे तशाच प्रकारच्या इक्वल स्पेसिंग मी त्या डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग मध्ये करू शकतो. दॅट इज डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग having this 24, 30 and 36 slots in that index plate. So on that 24 slots they are having 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24 holes on that periphery, and that 30 number of slots, their slot or 30 number of slots is त्यावर काय 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, 30 number of holes, and another 36 number of slot means their slot or 36 slot है, that will be having 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, 36 number of holes on its periphery. So that is direct indexing.
It's possible to be indexed are limited to numbers that are factors of 24, 30, 36. Plots direct indexing divisions.
तर ते
24,
डिव्हिजिबल नंबर्स असतात का?
24,
आपण एक मिनिट बघू ऋषिकेश, जस्ट लक्षात घे, नंतर आपण डिस्कस करू. जस्ट वेट.
36, 2, 3, 4,
ओके
6,
सर.
12, 18, 36. To millate flutes on a
Now you can see this to mill 8 flutes. मग आपण काय केलं होतं आधीच्या पार्ट मध्ये we have cut the 6 or hexagon on that 40 number of turns, बरोबर. त्या क्लँक प्लेट वर जेव्हा 40 टर्न्स आहे त्याच्यावर आपल्याला हेक्सागॉन तयार करायचे आधीच्या पार्ट. आता पुढच्या पार्ट मध्ये काय आहे, देयर आर टू मिल 8 फ्लूट्स ऑन अ रिमर ब्लँक, बरोबर. रिमर जो असतो, रिमर इज जस्ट लाईक अ ड्रिलिंग. ड्रिल जसा असतो, ड्रिलला काय असतं, ऑन दॅट सर्कम्फरन्स देयर आर कटिंग एजेस, ऑन दॅट सर्कम्फरन्स देयर आर कटिंग एजेस. 1 minute. So there is a 8 number of flutes. Now we have to mill on this circular plate. Just a minute.
indexing of milling machine. Holes. Plate.
So this is brown and sharp
Having
plate.
21. One plate drilled on both sides. 39. To millihex.
This is indexing head mechanism.
Contain 3 sets of hole circles or slots.
So this
24,
is direct
30, and 36.
direct indexing method, or called as a
Number of divisions possible
direct
to be
index, simple
indexed
indexing
are limited
model.
to numbers that are factors of 24, 30, 36.
So all the numbers must be divided by 24, 30 or 36. These are the sets of
3,
holes.
4, 6, 8, 12, 24, 32, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, 30. 36,
That is direct
2,
indexing.
3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, 36. To millate flutes on a reamer blank.
Now we'll see
Since
this one,
the
another
24
example.
hole circle is the only one divisible by 8, the required number of divisions. It is the only circle that can be used in this case. Slots direct indexing divisions. 24, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24, 32, 3, 5, 6, 10.
So student, in this another example, आवाज येतो ना स्टुडंट सगळ्यांना माझा? तर लक्षात घ्या, आधीच्या याच्यात आपण काय केलं, 40 by 6 होल्स, 6 बरोबर, 6 साइड मला इक्वली स्पेसिंग करायची. आता मला काय, आय हॅव टू मिल द 8 फ्लूट्स त्या रिमर ब्लँक वर. तुम्हाला सांगितलं मी, रिमर काय असतो, रिमर इज जस्ट लाईक अ ड्रिल जो असतो आपला ड्रिलिंग करताना वापरतो. तर त्याचप्रमाणे ड्रिलिंगला काय असतात, देर इज अ सर्कम्फरन्स cutting edges, but instead of that there are now reamer is there. Reamer is having just like drill, they are having cutting edges on its periphery. आता त्या 8 फ्लूट्स मला रिमर मला 8 फ्लूट करायचे त्या रिमरच्या ब्लँक वर. सो सिन्स द 24 होल सर्कल इज द ओनली वन डिव्हिजिबल बाय 8, बरोबर. आपल्याकडे जे 24, 30 आणि 36 आहे त्याच्यामधलं काय आहे, विल हॅव दॅट ओनली 24 होल सर्कल, बरोबर. 24 होल सर्कलची जी पहिली प्लेट आहे, that is only divisible directly by 8 because we have to mill the 8 flutes. So the required number of divisions, okay, so it is the only one circle that can be used in this case, which is 8. Okay, so 8 direct indexing divisions. So never count the hole or slot in which the index plane is engaged. Okay, so we'll going to study next.
10, 15, 30, 36, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, 36. Never count the hole or slot in which the index pin is engaged.
बरोबर, ज्या होल पिन मध्ये मी इंडेक्स पिन एंगेज करतोय, ज्या होल मध्ये मी म्हणजे आता आपण आपले 8 होल करायचे आहेत, 8 फ्लूट करायचे, त्यामुळे त्या 8 नंबर ऑफ होल मध्ये मी इंडेक्सिंग पिन इन्सर्ट करणार आहे. सो नेव्हर काउंट दॅट होल. ज्या होल मध्ये, ज्या स्लॉट मध्ये इंडेक्सिंग पिन मी एंगेज करतोय ते होलला, त्या स्लॉटला काउंट करायचं नाही, बरोबर, ड्युरिंग मिनिंग.
Simple, plain,
Now after that direct indexing, there is next called as a simple or called as a plain indexing. बरोबर, डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग नंतर पुढचा पार्ट आहे simple indexing or called as a plain indexing. So in that indexing, there is a one formula directly, as on that circular crank pin there are 40 number of teeth. So directly indexing is equal to 40 divided by n. N is the number that is the number of cutting. Bro. So the indexing required to cut 8 flutes. 8 flutes so n will be 8. Bro. So n will be 8. So the indexing required to cut 8 flutes, that will be 40 divided by that n. N is the 8 number of flutes I have to mill. So n will be 8. So 40 divided by 8. So that will come as a 5 full tons of the index crank. The index crank चे मला 5 पूर्ण टन करायचे, so that there will be 40 number of teeth during that milling. Now the indexing required to cut 7 flute. आता आधीच्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये आपण 8 फ्लूट कट केले, आता पुढच्या एक्झाम्पल मध्ये आपण किती करतोय? वी आर कटिंग द ओनली 7 फ्लूट्स इन दॅट सेम 40 number of holes index crank. बरोबर, मग अगेन 40 divided by n. n is 7 now, so 40 divided by 7, that equals to 5 is to 5 by 7. बरोबर, 5 is to 5 by 7, that means 5 number of complete ton. बरोबर, 5 number of complete ton plus 7 ton of which will have this indexing head required to 7 number of flutes. So that is your the 7th ton involves uses of an index plate and sector arm during milling. बरोबर, समजतात स्टुडंट्स? हॅलो स्टुडंट्स, आपण थोडक्यात बघतोय, आपण एक्झामला आलेले प्रॉब्लेम आपल्याला पुढे बघायचा अजून, पण त्याआधी सिंपल मला इंडेक्सिंग हेड मला जेव्हा वापरायचंय, सुरुवातीला मी बघितलं डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग. इन द डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग that 40 number of teeth are there, 40 number of teeth. So that means I can mill the, as per our, means you can see in that previous example, suppose again so this is 8 number of flutes, and in this direct indexing there are 3 sets of plate having 24 number of holes circle plate, 30 number of hole circle plate, and 36 number of hole circle plate. So number of divisions possible to index are only limited, which are the factors of either 24, either 30, or either 36. That is your direct indexing divisions. Then we'll go to the next part. This is example of 8 flutes on a crank. Now we'll go to the simple indexing, or called as the plain indexing. Now that indexing formula is equal to 40 divided by n. Now n is 8 number of holes, so that will be equal to 40 divided by 8. That means 5 full tons of the index crank. And another example is 40 divided by 7. So that calculation is equal to 5 is to 5 by 7 tons of index crank. That means 5 full ton of that index crank, plus in addition to that 5 by 7 in ton. 5 by 7 ton involves the uses of an index plate and sector arm. So that is your indexing for 7 number of flutes.
The indexing required to cut 7 flutes. The 5/7 turn involves use of an index plate and sector arms. Choose any whole circle that is divisible by denominator 7.
सो स्टुडंट, इंडेक्सिंग जेव्हा मला 7 फ्लूट करायचे, बघा ज्याप्रमाणे मग मी 8 डिव्हिजन बाय 8 नंबर डिव्हिजन करणार नंबर घेतला होता, आता मला काय करायचं आहे, 7 फ्लूट करायचे आहे. मला असा नंबर सिलेक्ट करायचा आहे दॅट विल बी डिवाइडेड बाय 7. बरोबर, मला असा नंबर सिलेक्ट करायचा आहे दॅट कॅन बी डिवाइड बाय 7. मग आता हे ब्राउन अँड शार्प प्लेट जे आहे, ब्राउन अँड शार्प प्लेटचे आपण एक्झाम्पल बघितलं बघा. इन दॅट ब्राउन अँड शार्प प्लेट देर आर अगेन हॅव्हिंग दिस 3 प्लेट्स. In that 3 plates, there is on that second plate there is a whole circle number is 21, which can be divided by 7. So choose any whole circle which is divisible by denominator 7. बरोबर, 7 डिनोमिनेटर असताना त्यांना डिवाइड केलं पाहिजे. बरोबर, So in that 5 by 7, that comes as a 15 by 21. Okay. So, and Cinemat City standard plate is one side having this number and other side is having this number. So that is your indexing for 7 fluids on that brown and sharp indexing plate.
Indexing for 7 fluids. Index plate whole circles. Brown and sharp. Plate 1, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Plate 2, 21, 23, 27, 29, 31, 33. Plate 3, 37, 39, 41, 43, 47, 49. Cincinnati standard plate. One side. 24, 25, 28, 30, 34, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43. Other side. 46, 47, 49, 51, 53, 54, 57, 58, 59, 62, 66. Choose any whole circle that is divisible by denominator 7. 5 sevenths equals slash 21. 15. So, 5 full turns plus 15 holes on 21 whole circle. Angular indexing for 45 degrees.
Student, after this direct indexing, there is a simple or plain indexing आपण बघितला था. Then third type of indexing is called as the angular indexing. The next type of indexing is called as the angular indexing. Okay. So angular indexing means indexing in degrees. मला काय डिग्री मध्ये काही पर्टिक्युलर अँगल मध्ये मला इंडेक्सिंग करायचं आहे बरोबर. So that indexing in degrees, that will be equal to number of degree required divided by 9. So that indexing of for 45 degree. So that given is number example is मला जेव्हा 45 degree ला indexing करायचं आहे. So that indexing in degrees equal to number of degree required by divided by 9. So that is equal to 40 by 9. Or indexing of 60, that equal to 60 by divided by 9, that will equal to 60 is to 2 by 3. That means 6 full turns plus 6 2s are 12 holes on a 18 hole circle plate. That is indexing for angular in degrees, either 45 degree or either 60 degree students.
Is indexing for 60 degrees 5 complete turns. 6 full turns plus 12 holes on 18 hole circle. Indexing for 24 indexing.
Now the next example is 24 inches, bro. So that will equal to, we'll see that just in
Equals 24 slash 5 equals 490 equals 122.5. One hole on a 22.5 hole circle. The nearest is a 23 hole circle. Indexing would be one hole on a 23 hole circle with a slight error, approximately half minute. A need for higher accuracy requires differential index.
so student indexing for 24 by inch. So 24 divided by 540. So that comes as a 4 by 90. That is again reduced to 1 by 22.5. So one hole on a 22.5 whole circle. So the nearest number to the 22.5 as per that whole circle plate. आपल्याकडे जे स्टँडर्ड सर्कल प्लेट आहे त्याच्यातला मग नियरेस्ट पॉईंट कोणता आहे त्या 22.5 चा 23.5 आपण बघू त्या इंडेक्स प्लेटवर जस्ट मिनिट इंडेक्स प्लेटवर बघू आपण इकडे आपण इकडे पण बघू शकतो. So these are the 4 types of indexing student. आपण हे 4 टाइप्स इंडेक्सिंग बघतो जो डायरेक्ट इंडेक्सिंग, सिंपल इंडेक्सिंग, angular indexing and differential indexing. आता ते इंडेक्स प्लेट बघू आपण कशा प्रकारचे आहे. So this is the 23 number of holes. We can see that. Angular indexing बघू आपण just a minute. Simple indexing बघितलं आपण. So there are 23 number of holes on that plate 2. That 23 number of holes, that is the nearest number of that 22.5. That's why we have to use this 23 hole circle with a slight error approximately 1 by 2 minute. So need for higher accuracy requires differential indexing. मग याच्यापेक्षा जास्त accuracy आपल्याला पाहिजे असेल तर next angular indexing नंतर next indexing कोणतं आहे? That is differential indexing.
Convert 9 degrees to minutes. 9 degrees x 90 equals 540. Calculate indexing for 24 superscript 030.
त्याला झक मारली आणि गाडी घेतली मग. ह?
कोण आहे हुशार? So students, we are studying this four types of indexing called as the simple indexing, plain indexing, angular indexing, and differential indexing. These are the four types of indexing methods which we have studied. Then this is one of the simple construction of that indexing plate and indexing pin. This is a worm wheel having that spindle at center. Then worm is there. Then worm shaft is there. That this is the index plate on that having circular plates. And attached to that index plate there is a indexing crank pin is there. The crank pin जे आपण होल मध्ये इन्सर्ट करतो ना, that is the crank pin. Student स्क्रीनशॉट घेता आला तर स्क्रीनशॉट घ्या. हॅलो स्टुडंट्स, लेक्चर ऐकू येतंय सगळ्यांना? हॅलो स्टुडंट्स,
हो
सगळे
सर.
जागे सगळे?
हो सर.
Screenshot get the important section view of that indexing crank pin and all that number of parts. So that is a crank pin is there at very small side inserted in that hole. Then there is a crank is there at here. This is circular crank is there which is connected with this sector arm. A sector arm and number of holes we can equally space in between this sector arm. या सेक्टर आर्म मध्ये काय होतं, नंबर ऑफ होल्स आपण स्पेसिंग ठेवू शकतो ऍज पर अवर रिक्वायर्ड नंबर ऑफ टीज. So this is the worm wheel is there attached with that spindle. There is a carrier is there and there is a center is there for locating your workpiece. So that is your index plate or indexing pin. Now basic components of that dividing head mechanism: base, spindle, worm is there, circular worm is there, worm shaft is there, the worm mount केलेलं आहे. Then index plate, driven shaft, dead center, sector arm and crank pin. This is again universal dividing head, one of the view of that universal dividing head. So these are the basic components. अशा प्रकारे स्टुडंट बघू शकता तुम्ही, अशा प्रकारचा सेटअप ठेवला जातो तिथे जेव्हा मशीनिंग करतोय मी with the help of that universal dividing head. So that setup I have to mount on that circular on that surface table of that milling machine. Now that basic components of that milling machine: base, spindle, this worm is there, worm shaft, index plate, the driven shaft is there, dead center is there for pointing out arms having number of holes in between that sector arm, and there is a crank pin. Crank pin is particularly inserted in that particular selected hole, that is crank pin. So these are the basic components of dividing head mechanism, and these are the four types. These are the four types of indexing. So indexing methods are simple or plain indexing, direct or rapid indexing, compound indexing, differential indexing, and angular indexing. Okay. So simple or dividing indexing आपण बघितलं, simple or plain indexing मध्ये बघितलं आपण as that worm gear is having 40 Ds. So 40 by n revolution मला complete करायचे while indexing that simple indexing or plain indexing. That is the index plate containing the plate 1, plate 2, plate 3. With the three index plates supplied, simple indexing can be used for all divisions up to 50, even numbers up to 100 except 96. 96 number of division आपल्याला करता येत नाही फक्त, पण 50 ते 100 नंबर पण आपण करू शकतो divide by with the help of this simple plate or indexing plate. Then index crank movement in that simple indexing is 40 by n. N is the number of divisions required. Now indexing जेव्हा 5 division करायचे मला 40 by n will be 5. So 40 by 5 that is 8 turns. Now there are 8 turns on the crank for each that contains one of the circles division. That is indexing for 5 division. Then another is the direct indexing or rapid indexing. So dividing unit fitted directly on the spindle. The index plate has 24 24 holes and the periphery of the job can be divided by 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12 equal parts directly. This type of indexing is most commonly used for indexing picture. Picture indexing करताना वापरतात ते, that is direct indexing or rapid indexing. This is one of the example of direct indexing or rapid indexing. So 24 by n. मला 6 parts move करायचे, मला 24 by 6 that will give 4 holes. That after completing one pair of the milling surface of the workpiece, we have to move the pin by 4 holes before next. That is your direct indexing or rapid indexing. This is compound indexing. Compound indexing, that is combination of compound indexing for 51 divisions. 51 division मला करायची जेव्हा. So 40 divided by 51. Now let us try circles of 17 and 18 holes. बरोबर? So you do 17 and 1 at one side and at one side divided by 40. So we get unit at numerator. So 3 can be cancelled, 17 can be cancelled. Will become 1 by 240. So circles are selected. 40 by 7, 2 by 18 and 240 by 18 or 40 by 70. So after further calculation that we can simplify it by in this manner. That is compound. Now this is another advanced indexing called the differential indexing. So we can see there is a differential gear is there. And sometimes plate have to have the combination. अशा प्रकारचं अँगल स्पेसिंग मला असलं वापरायला लागतं. दॅट इज कॉल्ड एज डिफरन्शियल इंडेक्सिंग. Differential indexing is similar to compound indexing, except the index plate is turned during the indexing operation by gears connected to the dividing head. Indexing head relying on the 40 by 1 ohm assembly. You drive the indexing plate via bevel gear system. The index plate moves as the index rank is turned. So this is one of the example of a gear has to be cut on 69 teeth. So student आवाज येतो का रे माझा? हॅलो, स्टुडंट जागे.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
येतो सर.
हा, आपण थोडक्यात बघू. आपण पुढच्या लेक्चर अजून प्रॉब्लेम बघायचे डिटेल मध्ये. आपण जस्ट आज बघू तेवढं लास्ट पार्ट मध्ये, सो दॅट वी कॅन अंडरस्टँड इट. एक लास्ट एक्झाम्पल बघू आपण. सो अ गियर हॅज टू बी कट ऑन 69 टीथ. अवेलेबल होल सर्कल्स काय तर इंडेक्सिंग नंबरची. मग डिफरन्शियल प्लेट मध्ये असे फ्रंट साइडचे होल आणि असे रिव्हर्स साइडचे होल्स आहे. आणि प्लेट having this 53, 51, 49, 47 teeth. So set teeth करायचे. मग 69 ते सगळ्यात जवळचा नंबर कोणता आहे? 70. So assume this nearest value of that teeth which is the 70 numbers. Then in that solution, if a number of teeth to be cut say 69, let us consider from the table virtual whole circle is 70. So that gear ratio will be equal to 1 by 69 divided by 1 by 40 into u. So that u is equal to 40 by 70, where u is the index crank rotation. हे जे प्रॉब्लेम्स आपण पुढच्या लेक्चर पासून डिटेल मध्ये बघू. स्टुडंट्स हॅलो, आपण आज थोडक्यात प्रॉब्लेम कसे बघायचे आपल्याला. पुढच्या लेक्चरला आपल्याला एक्झामला आलेले प्रॉब्लेम काय बरोबर. एक्झामला आलेले काही 2-3 प्रॉब्लेम आहे बुक मध्ये, ते बघून आपण हा चॅप्टर संपूया इन द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर. बरं, महत्वाचा पार्ट आहे. मीन्स इन एक्झाम अशा प्रकारचा प्रॉब्लेम तुम्हाला. गियर हॅज टू बी कट 69 टीथ. तर कधी कधी there is one example, you have to cut the 51 teeth, 51 number of teeth. As per this number of plates, the number of plate वर कुठले कुठले होल सर्कल आहे दिलेले, त्याप्रमाणे आपल्याला नियरेस्ट व्हॅल्यू आपल्याला डिसाइड करायची, सिलेक्ट करायची. As per that you have to solve the problem in that indexing plates. Is it clear students? समजलं ना? आपल्याला लक्षात ठेवायचं आहे.
Yes, sir.
We have to see that there are 4 types of indexing basically. There are 4 types of indexing. Direct indexing called as a simple indexing, then plain indexing or rapid indexing, then third is the angular indexing, then next is compound indexing and differential indexing. These are the indexing types. So in the next part we will go into the next detail number of problems. पुढच्या लेक्चरला आपण काही प्रॉब्लेम्स दिले तुमच्या सिलेबस प्रमाणे ते डिटेल मध्ये बघूया, सो दॅट वी कॅन कंप्लीट दिस सेकंड चॅप्टर ऑफ